Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. r/AskReddit by Planet Reddit. What is something you can't believe you had to explain to an adult? Kidney beans are not the kidneys of some small animal. Oh boy. What's the story behind your username? I just really like potatoes, I guess. Really, it is just a random name I pulled out of my ass the day I created my profile. Shrugs. I wish I had a cooler story for ya. How to calculate 50% off. I wish I were joking. Really? That's really sad. Yep. Dude walked up to me during a store closing sale with a product that was like $99.99 with a 50% off sticker on it and asked me how much it was after the discount. Is this the US? Cause I always wondered. Since you don't include the tax on the price of an item, is it 50% off before tax or after? Is it consistent across stores? That a hysterectomy is not the taking of the kitten. 50-year-old man thought it left a woman in kind of a Barbie-like state. Taking of the kitten shall be the title of my memoir on losing my virginity. A uterus is different from a vagina. I still have a vagina. In grade 9 health class we had to list different types of contraceptive on our exam. I put hysterectomy and menopause as two of my answers and was marked wrong. I argued with the teacher that I was right until she conceded a half point on each. My whole argument was if before intercourse you have a hysterectomy or go through menopause, what is the chance that a child can be conceived? Why is this different to having a vasectomy? As an adult I realize why I was wrong, but also I realize why I was right. I had to explain to a fully grown adult that Polish is a language. Was assisting with an assessment for evaluating people to be TSA agents and we could clarify a question but we were not allowed to give the answer. A guy calls me over and he says he does not understand the question. The page of questions on the assessment were if you spoke different languages including Chinese, Japanese, etc. The question that he called me over for was if he spoke Polish. I asked him if he understood the question. He responded that he did but he did not know that Polish, as in shoe polish, was a language. I explained to him that they were referring to the Polish language. He did not know how to speak Polish so the answer to the question was no. He then raised his hand again so I ran over to figure out what else he did not understand. The question was if he was a Native American. I asked him if you understood what Native American meant and he responded by asking if they meant like a veteran. TSA's Employee of the Month. I have a friend who thought Polish people speak Poland, not Polish. It was a little embarrassing because it made my Polish friend think that Americans are stupid. That dinosaurs were real and not a conspiracy against the church. What the hell happened here? My friend believes the world is literally 6,000 years old and that we actually lived with the dinosaurs. He believes the Bible in a literal way and when they traced back the list of names descendants it goes back 6,000 years. Otherwise a smart guy, but he refuses to believe anything else. And then he also shows me these conspiracy videos on how carbon dating is wrong and only goes back X amount of years. Which just goes to prove the other point with the Bible. Not even worth it to argue with him because at this point his mind is set and he will never change. My parents are like that but I'm not so sure but I'm only 14 so I just go along with it so he doesn't hound me trying to prove it. That you need helium if you want party balloons to float. You cannot just blow it up with air from your lungs because it will just fall to the ground. Had to explain this to my wife when preparing for my daughter's first birthday party. That's kinda cute. You'd hope at least that, because that's definitely not smart. You could use hydrogen. Just keep it away from the candles. That rice comes from a plant and is not flour and water rolled into little rice shapes. Wondering how someone who was 26 years old had lived that long without working this out before. They may have just thought that rice was the English name for orzo aka rizzoni. After all, everybody knows that pasta came from China by way of Italy, thanks to Marco Polo, right? Sure, it's stupid, but not altogether illogical. Edit. It's not like polished. White rice actually looks like grain. Whole. Brown rice looks like grain. Sure, but white rice? Not so much. I was once asked by a 26-ish-year-old colleague what corn seeds look like. I laughed. Then I realized he was serious. Why you need fuel for a generator and you can't just plug the generator into the wall? Whoa. Yeah, you can. When your power is out, You plug in the generator and plug everything into it and it automatically makes the world have infinite energy. Idiot. How credit card interest works. One of my 40+ YO co-workers once said, my husband always tells me to pay the entire bill off, but I don't see the point and I don't like doing it. So I don't. What about the interest, I asked. She said, what's that? I was floored. What an idiot. I pity the husband. So did I. Poor guy's in for a shock someday. How long has this been going on? Cause that could be a massive amount right now. That yes, a man can be a cook. By the way, she has been to restaurants before and has seen my brother cook and so on, but for some reason she thinks only women can be professionally cooks because she thinks guys who cook probably are gay. Her thinking is so headache inducing and backwards that I am surprised she hasn't poisoned herself by accident with bleach. Sadly, she's my sister-in-law. Funny. Restaurant kitchens are very male dominated. Imagine her walking up to Gordon Ramsay and calling him gay. I was going to say that Gordon Ramsay, his wife and their 5 children disagree. I work for Amazon. A coworker was scolding me because I put the stuffing paper in the bottom of the box instead of on top because according to her this makes the package weigh more and won't pass the weight check. I explained to her that I didn't put more stuffing paper than usual so it wouldn't affect the weight, but she insisted that the paper being on the bottom of the box makes it heavier. I had to explain to her that that's not how gravity works. She didn't believe me, so I just walked with less hope for humanity than I arrived to work with. Technically, that's exactly how gravity works. The pulling force is inversely proportional to the square distance between 2 centers of masses. So putting the paper in the bottom brings the box's center of mass closer to the center of the earth. I'd really like to see the math on this. Like, how many octagram that would be. Is that why Amazon uses such oversized boxes? S. Just because Santa isn't real despite showing up in Christmas movies doesn't mean NASA footage of the Earth being round is also illegitimate. If you leave every light on, TV, AC cranked low, every appliance on, etc., even in rooms you're not in, your power bill will be a little on the pricey side. You do not need to leave everything on all the time, especially when you're not there, and until you understand that, I don't want to hear you bitch about your expensive light bill. I can only assume these people didn't grow up with a parent who would yell at them anytime they left the lights on. Isn't that a fairly universal experience? On a related note, I had a roommate who could not be dissuaded from leaving her window open at night in the winter. She insisted she needed the fresh air to sleep, but we lived in a place that would regularly get to -10 in the winter, and the thermostat was right by her room. Splitting utility bills with her was fun. Compared to HVAC, water heaters, computers, etc., lighting costs are almost negligible, especially with fluorescent and LED lights. I have electric heat. In the winter, it's literally zero cost to leave the TV on all the time. That you need to actually wash your ass crack. And no, the water just running off from washing your hair/back isn't sufficient to clean your ass. I have had to explain this to multiple grown-ass dudes, and it always baffles me. How can someone have gone 20 or 30 years without ever actually doing this? How can you not notice that you still smell like literal shit after showering? What? How can someone have gone 20 or 30 years without ever actually doing this? Another question is, what is the scientific value of a microenvironment that has gone 20-30 years untouched by man? Maybe it should stay untouched. I ain't studying that. They found 1,400 plus new species of bacteria living in people's belly buttons. One science writer, for instance, apparently harbored a bacterium that had previously been found only in soil from Japan, where he has never been. Another, more fragrant individual, who hadn't washed in several years, hosted 2 species of so-called extremophile bacteria that typically thrive in ice caps and thermal vents. Once had to explain to a girl that Alaska wasn't an island. She also didn't understand that Russia and Alaska are relatively close and not across the world, because the earth is round, y'all. I had to explain the Alaska thing to someone in her late 20s when we passed a car with an Alaska plate in our state. I can only guess the only US maps she had ever seen were the ones that show Alaska teleported down next to Hawaii. They're not nearly on the same latitude. My 72-year-old mother panicked when she saw a helicopter hovering in place because she thought it would fall out of the sky if it wasn't moving forwards. Helicopters, like sharks, need to stay in constant motion in order to breathe. If it hadn't stopped hovering, it would have suffocated. She's not completely wrong. Under certain circumstances they can lose lift if they hover too long. But most pilots are trained to avoid that, I think. Hovering in place is actually the most challenging skill for most helicopter pilots to learn. It's pretty complicated, much more so than just flying around. That women have more than one orifice in their genital region. He was a married adult man, comma. I don't have a clicker, thanks. The poor wife. Right, comma. You can't drive to Hawaii. Not with that attitude. Sherps can drive across water, so yes you can. Well, it looks like she is about 30 days pregnant, congrats. How can she be pregnant? She is only around her brother. Well, actually they don't follow the same moral code as you or I. Veterinarian. Conversation I overheard from a couple close relatives. I think my new kitten is actually a female. Why do you say that? Look, it has nipples. Male cats have nipples. 2. You wanna know how you can tell he's a male? How? He has a penis. Oh dude, my ex got really upset when he found nipples on one of our kittens. He thought it was an injury or something else that requires veterinary attention. His mind was completely blown when I explained that male cats have nipples too. LOL. What would he have said if you told him that many male mammals, if not most, have nipples? I think there's maybe a handful of species that don't. That elbow grease was not something sold at a hardware store. I kid you not. No, but headlight fluid is. Tax brackets. So many folks brag about turning down raises because they think they'd be drastically lowering their take-home pay. I just smile and nod when my co-workers tell me how they make sure to not work too much overtime because they'll actually make less money. Then I work all the overtime I want. I know they think I'm an idiot, but I know they're the idiots, so it works out. Had a co-worker tell me he saved $1,600 a month in daycare costs by his wife being a stay-at-home mom. Like she had a degree and would easily be making $60K plus. Like, I guess it's alright if you want to lose more income to save $1,600 a month. TBH. He's proud of the wrong thing. He should be proud that together they can afford to have a stay-at-home parent to give their kids better care and more attention than a standard daycare. If she could make that much, I'd assume she's competent enough to give good education and upbringing to kids daycare age. So assuming she's competent and at least somewhat knowledgeable about attending to their kids, it is actually a thing to be proud of, but saving money isn't that thing with that kind of opportunity cost. That Canada is a country and not a state in America. And that we don't speak Canadian. It is, however, a perfectly fitted hat for America. That antiviral and antibacterial are not the same thing. I've had to sit down with people and explain this before. In my college biology class, no less. Freaking mental. A coworker once asked me what quarter after 9 meant. I want to know what quarter of 9 o'clock is supposed to mean. 9:15, 8:45, 2:15, 8:45. I have a work colleague who, until we recently explained to him, had never heard of King Henry VIII, never heard of the Holocaust or Auschwitz. He thought American Independence Day was when that big spaceship flew over the White House. Had no idea what stalactites and stalagmites were. Last week he said he had to Google how to boil an egg. He has no idea which political party is in power and has no real concept of Brexit and said it won't affect him. He's 46 years old. Join our community Discord, link in description. When the wildfires were going hot in Australia, and I tried to discuss this with my boyfriend, I ended up taking 30 minutes to convince him that no, Australia is not part of the US. Yes, it's its own continent. No, Australia is not Hawaii. Here's a map. He's 27. Did you break up with him? Because I would have at that point, in the interest of self-preservation. That the pizza delivery drivers shouldn't wear Eclipse glasses while driving during the eclipse. OMG, this reminds me of people who thought they couldn't go outside during the eclipse or that they had to bring their animals inside. One lady was worried about her horses. Yep, the eye protection is for looking directly at the sun. Don't look directly at the sun. Like any other non-eclipse day, Don't stare directly at the sun. Just because a child is a child doesn't mean they don't have valid feelings, valid grievances, and deserve to be treated with respect. It's astounding how many adults give in to toxic authoritarian ideals. Someone on Reddit wrote, "Your kids will go with a person who takes them seriously. Don't let that be a druggie or pervert." What also pisses me off is at 43 I am seen as a badass for running away from the people I share a name and DNA with. When I was younger, like in my teens early 20s, I got belittled for that. I'm sorry you were belittled for that. You are strong. You did the right thing leaving. Screw whoever belittled you. You're completely right. Kids who aren't taken seriously by their parents are easily lured by druggies and perverts. I really am with you on this. I hated being treated like this as a child, and I will never forget that what's happening to others can actually happen to them, and that this virus can kill them. Even if it's just the flu. I ended up with H1N1 when it was going around, and have never been sicker in my life. Was off of work for 2 months, in the hospital for a good while, and my lungs never recovered. Frankly, just a flu still scares the crap out of me. I know somebody who says it's just a flu. Every time someone says this, I can't help but think that they've never actually had the flu. Just a cold during flu season. Influenza kicks ass. That it is pronounced vagina not vagina. Was the person a native speaker? Because in some languages, Portuguese, for instance, it's pronounced like vagina. Yes, she is from northern Minnesota. I thought it was Cuchisnorcha. My father was borderline verbally abusing my Alzheimer's afflicted grandmother for touching her face a few days ago, BC of corona, and it took 15 minutes to get him to see that he was being the a-hole. I'm sorry, your poor grandma. Go help her wash her hands. After that she can stick her fingers in her mouth if she wants. I assume you were all at home. Dragons are a myth. I got well into high school before finding out that narwhals weren't a myth. I'd only ever seen them discussed with unicorns until a documentary was on TV and was flawed. That you can still pee with a tampon inside you. This was a woman I had to explain this to. Too long didn't read. I had to explain to 3 middle-aged co-workers what the taint is. Context: mental health outpatient clinic. Me and 3 co-workers, all female. I am the only one without a children. 3 master's degree and 1 associate's degree. Youngest person is 34. Oldest is 47. We are super close, so we should be a relatively well-informed bunch. I referenced the perineum for some reason last week. 3 blank stares. Me. You know, the taint blank stares me. Ain't the a-hole. Ain't the kitten blank stares me. Do you 3 seriously not know what I am talking about? Nodding me. The part the doctor had to cut for your episiotomies. Them. 2. That has a name. Cue all 3 texting their partners to find out if their partners knew what taints were. Their partners didn't know that the extra charge on her cosmetics item was tax. And no, it's not a choice. My first job at a pizza place, this guy came in and ordered a pizza. He gave me the cost of the pizza, but not the tax. I couldn't close the till and asked him for the tax. He said I'm an illegal alien. I don't pay taxes. I had to have my manager explain to him that if he didn't pay the taxes, we had to pay the taxes. And if he didn't pay the tax, we were not giving him a pizza. The fact that you guys don't show prices with tax included still baffles my mind. Mine. Manatees are native to Florida. My co-workers, which I think is even better. Alaska is not an island, and yes, it is a state even though it's not attached to the rest of the country. It's a beast, not a beast. That there isn't more countries behind the world map. You don't take antibiotics for a virus, so please stop abusing your doctor and her staff. Just because a medicine had side effects, that doesn't make it bad. Generally, the chance of having a severe side effect is tiny compared to the chance of a couple of a condition. Diabetes or a fib, for example, killing you in a slow, painful way. Yes, every herb's minerals and vitamins can have side effects. That your bank account does not consist of a folder with your name on it at the bank. I'm a former bank teller. On Christmas Day last year, we all played Cards Against Humanity and I had to explain Bukkake to my mother. OMG. Similar story. I played with my co-workers at a work retreat Risky, I know, but it was actually incredibly fun. Thanks to Reddit and my general internet addiction, I was the one who got to explain all the dirty words to my co-workers. They had never heard the word bukkake before, but one co-worker, a conservative woman in her 50s, was just delighted at the way the word sounds and kept enthusiastically yelling it out randomly, even after she knew what it meant. She continued this at work, a relatively reserved office environment, for several weeks. Haha, like a highly inappropriate war cry. Your poor mom. I work with a woman who is in her 30s. This woman thought that how we get meat is from the animals that die of old age. I had to explain to her that animals are slaughtered. It gave me great joy bursting her perfect little bubble. Imagine farmers breeding all those animals and then patiently waiting for them to die. If that were the case, we would have selectively bred those that live the shortest until we got to a point where waiting for them to die might actually be efficient. My 77-year-old dad should not go out and play pickleball with his friends during a pandemic. That snake don't bite with their tongue, they bite with their teeth. Not me, but my 15-year-old sister had to explain how negative numbers work to a client of my mother's. To be fair, the lady did ask for help understanding, and I respect that much more than not knowing and not asking. That deer don't actually know to cross the street at deer crossing signs. Your farts really do smell. That reindeer were real and not regular deer. I had to teach a grown man how to mail off his rent check. Had to take him to get a money order and help him fill it out. Then I just stopped him before he mailed it so he could put his return address on it, which he didn't know, and a stamp. Originally he was just putting cash in an envelope and taping it to his front door. He had just moved there. He was confused why the landlord had not picked it up. 25-year-old guy. I'm surprised it was still taped to his door and not stolen. It had been there for a week according to Captain Idiot. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.